And today, we are not just reading a book. We are, I think, analyzing the ultimate survival guide for anyone who has ever had to navigate corporate HR or an automated phone system or a health insurance claim that just feels designed to break your spirit.
Oh, absolutely.
We are diving deep into Joseph Heller's 1961 masterpiece, Catch-22.
And if you're listening to this in 2025, our mission really is to show you that this novel, which is set during World War II, isn't historical fiction. It's not.
No, not at all.
It is a stunningly, almost painfully accurate blueprint for the specific type of institutional madness that just defines our lives today.
Yeah.
Heller captured a bureaucratic pathology, a kind of twisted circular logic that has since, metastasized across pretty much every government agency and large corporation.
I think the enduring genius of this book, for me, is that it handed us the perfect piece of language for that feeling of utter, inescapable frustration.
Yes.
That sensation of being cornered by two contradictory demands where fulfilling one automatically violates the other.
Right.
And now we just have a word for it. We
Yeah.
just call it a Catch-22. It's the ultimate description of a system-imposed impossible choice.
And we don't have to look that far to see it, do we? You don't have to look overseas or back in time to get its relevance. The moment you start interacting with any large, opaque system, you are immediately thrown right into Yossarian's world.
Right.
And these aren't just like random irritations. They are fundamental features of a Catch-22 system.
Let's start with the one everyone gets immediately. The employment paradox.
The job hunt.
Yes. You've just finished school, you have the degrees, but you are just hitting a wall. You need, 3 to 5 years of relevant experience to get the entry-level job. So how do you get those years of relevant experience?
By getting a job.
By getting a job. It is this unbroken, self-referential circle that ensures the system, really, maintains control over who gets in and who stays out.
And the mechanism here is so important because it's not just an inconvenience. As Heller showed, the system actually profits from the energy you expend trying to solve this paradox.
Right.
Take the prior authorization battle in healthcare.
Oh, this one is infuriating.
It is. Your doctor decides you need a specific, often life-saving treatment. But before you can start, the insurance company requires a prior authorization form.
The paperwork begins.
The paperwork begins, exactly.
Right.
So you, or more likely your doctor's already overworked staff, have to fill out this massive form proving the medical necessity.
And what happens if they deny it? Which they do a lot.
And they often do.
Yeah.
Well, then you have to appeal.
Yeah.
And the Catch-22 here is sort of a double whammy. You need the treatment because you are gravely ill, which means you lack the physical energy and the time to fight a bureaucratic system. But you need to be healthy enough or have incredible resources to engage in this multi-month, really adversarial process of proving you're sick.
The system demands you be functional enough to fight the denial, but the denial itself is about a condition that makes functioning impossible. It's devastating.
It is. And it's the profit motive layered right on top of the paradox. If they approve the treatment easily, they lose money. But if they make the process impossible, a lot of people just give up or they die waiting. And that, saves them money.
Yeah.
So as the sources show us, these situations are integral features of the world Heller was warning us about. They are designed to manage flow, to manage liability, and to maximize profit by exploiting the natural limits of human patience and endurance.
So we are going to unpack how a novel about bombardiers fighting fascism became the essential operating manual for surviving the digital age and, the modern corporation. So let's jump right in. Let's set the stage and analyze the foundational paradox that started it all.
Okay, so we have to start with the paradox itself.
Right.
It is the heart of the novel, the source of the title.
Right, and for anyone not familiar with the plot, we are in the Mediterranean, specifically on this fictional island called Pianosa during the later stages of World War II.
And the setting is beautiful, isn't it? It's almost ironic. It should be a paradise.
It should be.
But it's been turned into this bureaucratic, paranoid purgatory.
Our main character is Captain John Yossarian, an American bombardier. And what's crucial about him right from the start is that Yossarian is not a hero, not in the traditional sense.
Not at all. His motivation is singular. It's almost obsessive. It's just survival.
That's it.
He is trying desperately to get grounded, to stop flying these incredibly dangerous combat missions and just stay alive.
And that premise alone sets this cynical tone for the whole book. Like, why are we romanticizing death when the most fundamental human impulse is just to...
He just wants out.
He just wants out. And the military, in this, gesture of seeming fairness, they have a regulation for that exact circumstance.
They do. There is one escape route. If you are mentally unfit for duty, you can be grounded. You have to be declared insane.
Right.
The problem, of course, lies not in the existence of the rule, but in how you use it, the procedure.
And this is where that famous logical trap just snaps shut. You have to request to be grounded, is that right?
That is the pivotal step.
Yeah.
You have to go to the squadron physician, Dr. Nika, and you have to formally request grounding by declaring yourself insane.
So you have to be the one to say, I'm crazy.
You do. And it's Dr. Nika who provides this stunning, perfectly twisted logic of Catch-22 itself.
Okay, lay it out for us. Because the precision of the logic is what makes it so brutal.
All right. The logic, as Danica explains it, goes like this. Anyone who is rational enough to recognize that flying death-defying combat missions is dangerous and therefore request to be grounded is, by definition, too sane to be considered insane.
Wow.
The mere act of seeking self-preservation proves rationality, and therefore it proves you are fit for duty.
So wanting to stop flying proves you are sane, and so you must keep flying.
Precisely. And the reverse is just as trapping. If you were truly insane, you wouldn't have the necessary judgment or the fear of death to request being grounded in the first place.
So you wouldn't even ask?
You wouldn't ask. So if you don't ask to be grounded, well, you might theoretically be considered crazy, but since you didn't ask, the catch doesn't apply to get you out of flying.
It's an elegant, self-sealing, paradoxical circle. There's just no way out.
None. That circularity, it turns what could be a bureaucratic annoyance into a genuine existential threat.
Yeah.
It's not just that the rule doesn't work. It works perfectly to ensure the intended outcome, which is that nobody escapes.
And Dr. Nika has that final line, the one that gives the book its life.
He does.
Yeah.
He just says, anyone who wants to get out of combat duty isn't really crazy.
And the psychological impact of that, that's what Heller was really getting at.
It is. It means that the regulations, which are supposed to exist to protect the individual, are in fact weapons. They're deployed against the individual to ensure their compliance and, eventual sacrifice.
He confirms Yossarian's deepest fear.
Exactly. The enemy isn't just the German side. The enemy is the system itself.
And systems love to hide their malicious intent behind these seemingly logical rules. When this book came out, I have to imagine that level of cynicism was just shocking, especially applied to the good war, to World War II.
It was. But Heller didn't just pull this out of a vacuum. He was writing from a place of bitter first-hand experience.
And that's key. That direct connection is what gives the novel its authenticity.
Absolutely. Joseph Heller was a WWII bombardier. He flew 60 combat missions over Italy and North Africa between 1944 and 1945. He was, quite literally, Yossarian.
60 missions. That is just an astonishing amount of exposure to mortal risk.
And that experience fundamentally shaped the novel's core idea. Heller later said that the greatest stress wasn't even the enemy anti-aircraft fire. It was the constant anxiety over the capricious nature of the mission requirements. He saw how the military bureaucracy created situations that were more dangerous, more illogical, and more demoralizing than any direct action from the enemy.
So the origin of this genius idea wasn't some abstract philosophical thought experiment.
Not at all.
It was observed reality that he then transformed. Heller took this specific, horrifying military absurdity, the arbitrary raising of mission counts, the pointless paperwork, and he turned it into a universal structural critique of all large-scale organizations.
He recognized that the military, an institution that's designed for collective action and discipline, often just functioned as a machine. A machine designed to consume its own people for abstract concepts like duty or the greater good.
While the people in command benefit from the sacrifice.
Exactly. And that same mechanism applies to modern healthcare or finance. The scale changes, but the trap. The trap is identical. It's a self-referential rule that makes it impossible to solve the very problem the rule was supposedly created to address.
Okay, so if Catch-22 is the architecture of this world, then Yossarian is our guide. He's the rational resident walking us through the madness. And when you look at him today, he feels less like an anti-hero and, more like a profoundly relatable survivalist.
Oh, he absolutely does. He is defined by his singular, almost clinical determination to survive.
Yeah.
He's not trying to win the war, and he's not fighting for some abstract notion of freedom. He is just fighting for his own life.
And that makes him really polarizing within the book's world, but I think deeply resonant for a modern reader.
It does. because the novel forces you to confront this idea that his obsession is not cowardice. If you are placed in an environment, whether it's military or corporate, where the rules are actively designed to destroy you, then refusing to participate is the highest form of self-preservation, is the most rational response to a deeply irrational situation.
It's the clarity that comes from seeing through the institutional nonsense. While everyone else is busy chasing promotions or medals or, corporate praise.
Yossarian gets it. He understands that those abstract concepts are totally worthless once you are dead, or traumatized, or financially ruined. He refuses to buy into the narrative that his life is disposable for someone else's benefit.
And we see this play out in his schemes, right? Faking illnesses, moving his hospitalized friend from bed to bed, even sabotaging his own plane.
Well,
These are not just random acts of delinquency. They are highly calculated strategies to try and exploit the loopholes in the system.
they are the precursor to every modern act of resistance against bureaucratic overload. I mean, think about the modern worker who engages in quiet quitting,
Yeah, doing the bare minimum.
doing the bare minimum defined by the contract, but absolutely refusing to contribute that unpaid emotional or physical labor. That is Yossarianism in the workplace. It's the refusal to provide the emotional energy that fuels an exploitative system.
Or what about the consumer who spends 3 hours on Reddit trying to find the secret executive phone number to bypass that impenetrable automated call center?
Yes.
That's Yossarian walking backward to confuse people. It's the desperate search for the crack in the logic that will let you survive being crushed by institutions that see you as a liability or just a cost center.
His schemes are heroic because they're selfish. His refusal to be a traditional hero is a rebellion. It's a rebellion against a world that equates self-sacrifice with virtue, especially when the ones demanding the sacrifice are the ones profiting from it.
He knows the game is rigged.
He knows the game is rigged, and his survival requires breaking the rules of that rigged game.
And the ones rigging the game, they populate the entire base at Pianosa. Heller created this supporting cast that is just a detailed taxonomy of toxic bureaucracy.
It really is.
This institutional madness is personified in the commanders.
Oh, it is a roster of familiar villains for anyone who's ever worked in a large organization. The characters embody systems that punish normal, rational human behavior and explicitly reward absurdity, incompetence, and just self-serving cruelty.
Let's start with Colonel Cathcart. He is the ultimate example of the moving goalposts, the kind of psychological warfare that modern systems use to ensure you're always anxious.
Cathcart is the commander who constantly and arbitrarily raises the number of missions required for a tour of duty. Initially, it was 25,
Okay, manageable.
then 30, then 40, then 50, and so on. Yossarian and the other men are constantly dedicating their mental and physical energy to calculating their freedom date, only for Cathcart to pull the rug out from under them right before they reach safety.
And the insight here, which makes it feel so modern, is that the goalpost movement isn't driven by military necessity. It's not about the war.
Not at all. It's driven purely by Cathcart's narcissistic desire to impress his superiors, mostly General Peckham, and climb the career ladder.
So the inefficiency of the system, the unnecessary danger to the pilots, it's a direct result of his personal ambition.
Exactly. And this is the profound danger of modern bureaucratic leadership, right? Decisions that gravely affect the lives and mental health of hundreds of people are made based on the personal vanity of an isolated superior.
The system just becomes addicted to endless escalation.
It does. And the psychological strategy of Cathcart's changes is brilliant in its cruelty. It kills hope.
Yeah.
If the requirement was fixed at, say, 75, the men could focus on enduring it. But by constantly moving the goalposts, Cathcart ensures they expend all their mental energy on calculation and fear and hopelessness.
It enforces learned helplessness.
It does. It diverts energy that might otherwise be used for resistance.
And you contrast that with major.
Right.
If Cathcart is malicious ambition, major is rewarded incompetence.
Total incompetence. He gets promoted specifically because his name is so absurd. And his entire career after that is defined by hiding in his office, only going in when he's sure no one is there, and just refusing to make any decisions.
He's the manager who achieves success through complete and utter avoidance. I think we have all met this person. The one who rises up the ranks because they never make a controversial decision and are masters of avoiding blame.
His promotion proves that in a truly dysfunctional system, competence is often a liability
How so?
because it forces you to engage. Incompetence, when it's coupled with a desire for self-preservation through minimal engagement, is sometimes the most stable corporate strategy. The system rewards those who are least effective because they maintain the status quo and avoid friction.
So Pianosa, as a setting, it really becomes a microcosm of corporate environment. It's a place where the rules are fluid, nonsensical, and designed purely to maximize utility for those at the top, regardless of the cost to the human beings doing the actual work.
Yes, the soldiers have to risk their lives, but the internal threat from the paperwork and the arbitrary mandates is arguably higher than the external fire. The constant forms, the shifting requirements, the fact that you can be killed legally by a signature on a piece of paper, that is the internal enemy.
It's the precursor to insurance denials.
And regulatory capture. Heller showed us that the men wearing the same uniform are the ones destroying your life with paperwork.
This level of institutional critique, it brings us to the most prophetic character in the entire novel. I mean, the one who truly anticipates the globalized, profit-driven world of the 21st century.
Milo Minderbinder.
Milo Minderbinder. We have to spend some time here because Milo isn't just a secondary character. He is a philosophical statement.
Milo Minderbinder is. He's terrifyingly prescient. He starts out simply as the mess hall officer, responsible for procurement.
Right, just getting the food.
Just getting the food. But he is a true entrepreneurial genius. He gradually builds M&M Enterprises, this international trading syndicate that basically becomes a shadow government. He trades absolutely everything and with everyone.
And the core absurdity is that Milo trades with both sides of the war.
Both sides. He provides food, equipment, and goods to the Allied forces, and simultaneously to the German and Italian forces. Economic interest completely, unapologetically overrides allegiance, duty, or any kind of moral constraint.
But it's not hidden. That's the crazy part.
No, it's celebrated. The other officers are invested in M&M Enterprises. Everyone gets a piece of the action, which creates this collective corporate immunity for what Milo's doing.
So the system embraces the amoral profiteering.
It does, because it provides convenience and small personal rewards for those in power.
But the absurdity, the moment where this internal conflict of interest becomes existential, is when Milo bombs his own base.
Yeah.
Why? Because he had accepted a contract, a purely economic agreement, to bomb it. And the contract was too profitable to refuse.
In 1961, that sequence must have felt like a surreal, dark satire taken to its illogical extreme.
Right.
Today, it reads like a journalistic expose on global corporate practices. Milo demonstrated that when profit is the absolute highest value, it will inevitably cannibalize every other value, including self-preservation and the safety of your own nation or team.
He showed that the financial mechanism is fundamentally at odds with the human safety mechanism. And we see this played out daily.
Oh, everywhere.
When companies lobby against safety regulations because compliance costs money, that's Milo bombing the base. When pharmaceutical companies prioritize highly profitable chronic maintenance drugs over actual curative treatments,
That's Milo serving the highest bidder.
yeah.
And Heller included two specific schemes that feel like direct premonitions of the process world we live in. First, Milo's invention of chocolate-covered cotton.
Right.
He buys cheap, completely inedible cotton and covers it in chocolate to sell it as a product. A high-margin, utterly useless commodity.
That perfectly encapsulates the processed food industry, where cheap, non-nutritive bulk is engineered to be addictive and marketed as sustenance, all in the name of profit margins.
It's the ultimate triumph of marketing over reality.
Totally.
And second, his scheme to corner the market on Egyptian cotton, regardless of the chaos it causes the local autonomy or the war effort. Milo represents capitalism untethered from any ethical or national boundary. He proved that the real enemy wasn't the one you were ordered to fight. The real enemy was the internal system of profit metrics, bureaucracy, and careerism that could legally destroy you.
The internal enemy kills you slowly and legally with paperwork and profit mandates. That is the genius of Milo Minderbinder.
Given the weight of all these themes, institutional consumption, trauma, impending death, Heller had to use a very specific technique to make the novel not only readable, but universally resonant.
And that technique is dark comedy.
It is. The tone is everything. He renders everything so monumentally and horribly absurd that laughter ceases to be a luxury. It becomes the only viable form of resistance.
It's a coping mechanism, a way of signaling to the universe and to the reader that we see the chaos and we refuse to let it break us.
It's the literary precursor to modern meme culture, isn't it? The way we cope with global catastrophe or political dysfunction.
Yeah, that's a great point.
When the reality is too painful to confront directly, you wrap it in humor. By making the rules, the characters, and the dialogue so ridiculous, Heller makes the reader complicit in the resistance. If you laugh, you are acknowledging the madness.
And that humor is so linked to the novel's structure, which relies on this circular and repetitive logic. The conversations feel like they are just spinning their wheels.
They go nowhere.
They go nowhere. Characters repeat the same arguments, they return to the same problems, and the conclusion is always the impossibility of progress.
And that structure perfectly mimics the lived experience of bureaucratic entanglement. I mean, think of being on hold, getting passed through 6 different departments, only to land back with the first person.
Who asks you to explain the problem all over again?
All over again. The looping logic in the novel creates this sense of profound, frustrating realism, despite the absurd characters. The form mirrors the function of institutional life.
And beyond the logic, the novel's actual narrative structure is intentionally chaotic. It's fractured, it's nonlinear, it jumps back and forth across time and perspectives. It's hard to tell, especially early on, what is past and what is present.
This fracturing is essential for, I think, 2 reasons. First, it captures the psychological reality of trauma.
Okay.
Trauma doesn't exist as a linear narrative in your mind. It exists as recurring fragments, flashbacks, and constant anxieties. By forcing the reader to constantly reorient themselves in the timeline, Heller makes this experience Yossarian's PTSD.
And second.
Second, it reflects the confusion of modern life itself, even outside of war. We don't experience a linear timeline. We get fragments of news, contradictory information, and these constant recurring problems that never get cleanly resolved.
Yeah.
The form of the novel is a brilliant piece of modernist literature that just captures the chaos of information overload.
And all of these fractured elements, the circular logic, the dark humor, the nonlinear structure, they are all anchored to one singular traumatic event that Yossarian tries desperately to forget.
And the novel tries desperately to reveal.
Yes, the death of a young gunner named Snowden.
And Heller handles this reveal so brilliantly over hundreds of pages. Snowden is this ghost haunting the narrative. His death is mentioned in fragments, which reinforces the idea that systems actively try to mask the physical, grotesque reality of their own violence.
They bury the human cost under paperwork and euphemisms.
They do, and the gradual reveal just increases the dread. Yossarian is on the plane with Snowden trying to treat a visible wound in his leg, following the first aid procedures perfectly. He's treating what the manual tells him to treat.
But then Snowden whispers those 2 simple, heartbreaking words.
I'm cold.
I'm cold.
And in that moment, Yossarian discovers the ultimate reality hidden beneath the visible, the fatal invisible wound.
What is it?
Snowden's entrails are spilling out of his flight suit. His life is literally leaking away, a physical impossibility that the system just failed to account for.
The system told Yossarian to look at the leg, but the reality was the gaping hole in his side.
Right.
And that horrifying physical reality, it just reduces all the abstract concepts, duty, honor, God, country, to absolutely nothing.
And the full revelation of Snowden's death gives Yossarian the philosophical anchor for his entire worldview.
Which is?
Man was matter.
That 3-word statement fundamentally redefines the novel and Yossarian's character. If man is simply fragile flesh, disposable and easily destroyed, then his survivalist attitude isn't selfishness.
No, it is the most honest, rational philosophy possible.
It justifies everything.
It does. Once you realize that beneath the medals and the corporate rhetoric, you are simply disposable material.
Yeah.
You're an employee ID, a credit score, a data point, then prioritizing your own existence over the system's demands. It stops being a moral failing.
And becomes a necessity.
It becomes a necessity for retaining your sanity. The system needs you to believe in the abstraction, so you will willingly sacrifice the matter. Yossarian just saw through the pretense.
It's hard to imagine, given its current status, that when Catch-22 was first published in 1961, it was an overwhelming critical failure.
It was a total failure. The critics of the time, who were operating under the assumption of the good war narrative and looking for traditional linear storytelling, they hated it.
What did they say?
They called it an emotional hodgepodge, repetitious and monotonous. They found the chaos and the irreverence confusing and unstructured. They were looking for Ernest Hemingway, and they got something closer to Salvador Dali.
They missed the point entirely because they hadn't yet lived through the reality the book was describing. It was too cynical for the hopeful early 60s.
But the readers, particularly the counterculture generation, they immediately recognized the truth in the absurdity.
Right.
The sources say that college students in the mid to late 1960s began passing worn copies around like a forbidden text.
And the timing here is absolutely essential to the book's elevation to classic status.
It is.
By the time the U.S. was deeply mired in the Vietnam War, a conflict driven by its own brand of bureaucratic escalation and illogical mandates, Catch-22 stopped being absurdist comedy.
And it became prophetic realism.
Yeah.
That transition cemented its legacy. A book that was dismissed as chaotic satire in 1961 became an essential, bitter commentary on institutional authority by 1968. It spoke directly to a generation who were questioning the logic of sacrifice demanded by governments and corporations.
And today, its influence is, well, it's everywhere. It extends far beyond literature into our daily communication.
The phrase Catch-22 isn't just a literary reference, it's a dictionary entry.
It's in the dictionary.
It is. It's the standard, globally recognized term for a self-defeating, contradictory set of rules that prevent a resolution. This is maybe the greatest literary accomplishment, that a fictional rule became the universal language for a real-world dilemma.
And more profoundly, Heller provided a template for addressing institutional power through fiction. He established the use of dark existential comedy to tackle serious, systemic themes.
And he taught readers how to spot the patterns of exploitation and, crucially, how to respond to them.
How so?
Well, the book offered a strategy of resistance. You can't effectively fight an algorithm or a three-ring binder of corporate policies or a phone tree with a straight protest.
No.
But you can expose the illogical, profit-driven motivations behind them through subversive laughter and, as Yossarian did, by seeking the loophole.
So, bringing the analysis back to the listener's immediate life, what is the ultimate conclusion Yossarian comes to, and how does that translate into action today?
Yossarian eventually makes the decision to desert, to escape the base, planning to flee to neutral Sweden. And the novel is very clear. This is not presented as a moral triumph or a failure.
It's just an action.
It is simply the rational action of a person who realizes that continued engagement with the system ensures his destruction.
It is the ultimate expression of the realization that sometimes the only winning move is not to play the game that the system has set up for you.
That's it. Heller's core warning was that we should never accept impossible choices simply because they are presented by authority. Every time you accept the prior authorization Catch-22, every time you let the corporate ladder perpetually shift its requirements, you are agreeing to participate in Yossarian's nightmare.
The genius Heller left us is the lens, this philosophical tool, to understand the maddening complexity of modern life. It lets us recognize the structural absurdity, and it enables us to laugh at the systems that seek to control and break us. Every time you hit a phone menu that gives you no option to speak to a human, or a job posting that requires non-existent experience, you are standing on Pianosa.
And this realization gives you power. You now have the knowledge to spot the trap precisely when the system is designed to profit from your confusion and your exhaustion.
So the ultimate call to action, the closing question we want to leave for you, the listener, is this. What is the modern Catch-22 you are currently trapped in? That paradoxical choice where every option leads to exhaustion or just a dead end.
And now that you know how to spot the trap, are you going to continue playing the game? Or is it time to consider finding your own escape route to Sweden?
Thanks for diving deep into this essential survival guide. We encourage you to seek out the absurdity in your own life.
Because in a world full of catches, at least now you know how to think your way through the systems designed to consume you.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.